Hi, Laura. Thank you so much for doing this interview with me today. I know we were just talking before we got on here live, and this is my first interview with an LLP. So let me give you a little introduction, and then I'm going to have you explain what an LLP is, because I know a lot of people don't understand what you are and what you do. So
Great.
this is Laura Landon. She is with Cox, Baker, Page, and Bailey. That is the attorney firm that she still works under, and that's where she runs her practice. So I will let you go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Karla, for having me. I really appreciate it. I am an LLP. I've been an LLP now since June when the very first cohort was sworn in. So it's been an exciting time. An LLP is a licensed legal paraprofessional. This is a brand new program here in the state of Colorado. There's a few other states that have similar programs. But the state has been looking for quite a while for a way to solve the problem of people needing access to justice, especially in the area of domestic law. There's so many people just can't afford an attorney or don't have access and need some more resources and some options. And so the state thought, well, gosh, we've got these paralegals who are so experienced. Why not license them to help people out? And so that's what LLP is. There are now 91 of us in the state.
I was wondering. I thought we were close to 100 now.
Yeah, there's been two
Yep.
cohorts now, so there's 91,
Yep.
and we practice family law, only family law, and there are some restrictions on our license, some things that we can't do, but there are many things we can help people with in getting through divorces and custody issues, child support, pretty much all of those things we can help from start to finish.
Okay. So I have some questions kind of teed up here. And I do a lot of teaching continuing education with realtors. And so a lot of the questions that come up are, what is the background of most LLPs? I think they wonder what the experience is. So I'm going to let you elaborate on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to sit for the LLP exam, you have to have experience in family law as a paralegal. And there's a couple different tracks. You can either go with an education and experience track. So if you have your degree, there's a whole different list of degrees that you might have, and some experience, or you can go OG paralegal route is what I would call it, which is you
Okay.
have, a lot of experience and you've been in the
Okay.
for quite a while. I would say that many of us had that level of experience in the first cohort, first and second, just people that have been working in this field for quite some time in law firms as paralegals working in family law. And so they're very familiar with the process, with the law. And it's an easier transition to kind of move into that role of representing clients ourselves.
Yeah. I think, and you have to tell me if I'm wrong here in saying this, but what I have told people is that most of, if not all of the LLPs that are in practice today have probably at least, if not more, 10 to 15 years of experience in family law. Do you think that's
Yeah,
pretty safe to
I
say?
I would say that yes, there's a good amount of us who have that, and I would say probably half at least are kind of in that ballpark range. And of course, as time goes on, that will change
Yeah.
because now we've kind of captured that first group of super experienced paralegals, and if they were interested in becoming LLPs, they've probably taken the test by now. So now we're kind of starting to train people up, the paralegals that are getting interested in the field now, and they have a potential career path. So they're saying, well, gosh, if I spend a few years in family law as a paralegal, I have the option to then maybe test to become an LLP and get that licensure as well.
Okay. And so I know that a lot of the LLPs have taken some different directions. You are still working at a family law firm, but are there differences if you're seeking out an LLP? I mean, like personally, I know what I would look for. I would look for the experience for what we just talked about, right? Um, but I know there's a lot of LLPs that have gone out on their own and started their own businesses or stayed at firms. So Is there any difference? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's been interesting to see how LLPs are, what they're doing with their license. And there are many of us that are still in the firms that we were in before we were licensed and kind of transitioning our role from paralegal to taking our own cases as LLPs. I know several LLPs that are doing that, and some are exclusively working as an LLP and no longer doing any paralegal work at all. So that's kind of what we're seeing, is that transition. There are several LLPs who've also gone off on their own and either started their own firms as sole practitioners usually. And then there's a couple firms that were formed with an attorney and an LLP. So there's a few of those as well. There's a lot of ways that we can practice. We don't have to practice with attorneys. We can have our own firms of just LLPs. So we're starting to see that kind of happen. One of the benefits of being within a firm with attorneys is the access to the knowledge base, having so many people you can just walk into their office and have those discussions like attorneys do. Oh, I've got this case and this set of facts and these circumstances. How might you handle that? And using those resources to really help build up your experience in that area, because LLPs, yeah, we have a ton of experience in family law and it's an incredible resource. I hope that people find us and use that resource. But we're also working on gaining the experience of being in court and doing those sorts of things that are maybe more new for us.
So I want to talk about that really quick, because you did mention that, you do have some limitations, and the way I understand it, I might be wrong, so you might have to correct me here, but what I think your limitations are is that, from what I've understood, you cannot actually stand up and litigate in court, but you can go to court with your client and you can tell them what to say. Is that right? Or
yeah,
right?
so something kind of like that. So what
Okay.
we can do in court right now is we can make opening and closing statements. We can make arguments. So that does include things like making an objection. We can do that. We cannot take testimony, not our own clients. No, we cannot take any testimony. So we're not questioning witnesses. We can help our clients get prepared for trial by, helping them write questions or their statements and what they need to get into evidence. That's our experience at work, is sitting down with them saying, hey, I'm going to tell you exactly what this court needs to know so that they can make the decisions to help you get to where you want to be. So we help them with that and get them ready for trial, but we don't question the witnesses. But we're there sitting with them at counsel table. We're answering the court's questions. We're helping procedurally. We're doing status conferences. We're doing pretty much everything else except for examining the witnesses.
Okay. And then what is the deal with common law marriage? And I asked that because, not that I'm looking to get divorced, but I am common law married. And I understand you guys you couldn't help me. Is that right?
Well, no, that's not entirely true. We can help you as long as, and again, I hope that that's not a thing, but if the parties agree that they are common law married and a date that they were married, then we can work on cases like that. We can't work on contested common law. So if somebody's like, oh, we're not married, or we don't know the date, then that would be outside of scope for us.
Okay. Well, we've always used my birthday. So
there you go.
Okay. How interesting. Okay. Well, thank you for clearing that up.
Of course.
So the other thing that I've heard, and I think this is true, but again, tell me if it's not, the reason that this was approved in the state of Colorado is because our court system is so backed up, right? And the dockets are just a mess. From what I understand, 70% of divorce cases are pro se, meaning they have no representation. So I believe that was the initial push to get the LLP on board in the state of Colorado. Is that correct? Is that what you all heard?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a huge need, especially, and there's other areas of law that people need help, but family law is absolutely an astronomical number of people that are handling these cases on their own. And the courts are really backed up because of it. I mean, the pro se parties, they do their best, but they don't always show up to court prepared. The court can't give them legal advice, and they end up having to reset these hearings, and they take longer than they need to take. And that means these families are going through these circumstances that are so difficult for even longer than they would need to if they had some help to get them through the process, the procedures, the paperwork that needs to be done. And that's where LLPs can come in and we can take a case that is so daunting for somebody who's pro se and really make it simple and help them through that in a much more efficient manner. And that's what I see that we're doing. Hopefully we get some of these cases off the court's docket and settled in mediation.
Yeah. And I mean, while you guys are affordable, you're more affordable, I should say, than an attorney. I think there's also a little bit of a misconception out there that you're cheap, and you're not cheap. You're just more affordable. You're a more affordable option than an attorney. I think sometimes too, people think that, because of that, the knowledge might not be there, which I know firsthand just from the LLPs that I know and that I work with and talk with. You guys are every bit as knowledgeable and helpful as the attorneys are. And you're just more affordable, really, I think is the bottom line, right?
Well, yeah, absolutely. I have great respect for associate attorneys and attorneys who are just coming out with their
Absolutely.
license. But I mean, you can practice, at any area of law as you get your licensure, and that may not include much experience at that point. So it's important to know that LLPs have been in this world for quite some time by the time you step into our office. So that difference in our rate, should definitely not be seen as a correlation with not having very much experience or knowledge. In many cases and in many firms, the paralegals have been the ones training the young attorneys on the ins and outs of family law. So that's what you're getting when you hire an LLP.
Yeah. So I think we've covered pretty much everything with LLP. So I want to talk more about you.
Okay.
So how long have you been in family law? Like, what is Laura's experience?
Sure. So I guess it'd be about 16 years for me. 2009 is when I started working in family law, and I worked as a paralegal for a long time. I worked for a Colorado super lawyer and worked in a lot of really big cases and complex issues over the years. And what's interesting with working with the LLP now is that I see different types of cases and different types of clients, and it's been really wonderful to use the knowledge to help people at all different income levels. And so I've really enjoyed that. And family law can be really hard. People ask,
Yeah.
why do you want to be in family law? And it's a really tough area of law, but you get to help people moving through a time of life that's really hard and see them hopefully come to this new place in life where there's new choices and a new start and new options, and you get to kind of help them through that and build that new version of who they are and what's going to happen. And I find that really inspiring to be part of that process.
Yeah. And I know you love what you do, and I know that you take it very, very seriously. So, just on an average or percentage wise, how much of what you do day to day do you think is your LLP work? Are you still doing paralegal work as well, or well, I guess what kind of a shift have you seen? Because you've been licensed now for almost a year.
Yes, absolutely. I am starting to take more and more cases, and I would say my workload right now is at least 60% my own clients, and I do still have some paralegal work as well. And I'm balancing both of those things right now because it seems to be working out at the moment. But I'm definitely getting more and more cases, and I really enjoy the LLP work. It's tough,
Awesome.
but having my own clients, of course, I'm working different hours and
Sure.
thinking about things in the middle of the night, just like attorneys do, and have that kind of pressure. And it's definitely a change. But I'm honored to be able to help people in a way that I couldn't do before.
Yeah. I think, and not to shift it back to LLP, but when I realized what it was and what you guys had in front of you with this, I was so excited for you because it kind of, to me, seemed like the handcuffs were coming off, right? So, you were now able to have conversations you haven't been able to have in the past and so on, with all
Yeah.
the knowledge that you guys had, right, in your head, but you just couldn't really.
Yes, very, very freeing to be able to say, don't do that.
Yeah,
Here's why you can't do that, and
yeah,
there's some of that you can do as a paralegal with the blessing of the attorney that you work for, but
sure.
it is really nice to be able to help guide people in the way that makes sense to you from your, years of experience.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add. If not, if you do, please add. If not, I want you to tell everybody how they can find you best. Like, how can they locate you? You're here in Denver, Colorado. Like, what areas do you serve?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And one thing I would add is that I want to encourage people that LLPs are a great choice for cases. Well, we're a great choice for a lot of different kind of cases, but one thing that a lot of us LLPs are focused on is trying to resolve cases in mediation and trying to resolve them amicably. I think part of that is because we can't question our witnesses in trial. We're aware of those limitations and we let our clients know right up front, this is a limitation if we end up in court, but we really have a focus on trying to help people come to amicable resolutions before it gets to that point. So if that's something that you want in your divorce or
Yeah,
in your case, and that's not to say that attorneys don't also do that. They absolutely
right.
do, absolutely. But it's just something that we especially focus on, I think, because of those limitations too.
Yeah. So I just want to clear up something that you said right there because I know what you meant, but I want to make sure our audience doesn't misinterpret it. So when you say that, amicably, in resolution and so on, you would never work with both couples in a mediation situation. I mean, with
Oh,
party,
yeah.
right? You would be
Great.
you're an
Great
advocate for one
clarification.
party.
Yes, absolutely. You're
Okay.
still representing only one party. Absolutely. You have to be conscious
Okay.
of those conflicts, never representing two. But,
Okay.
you can go to mediation with your client in that kind of attitude of trying to come to creative resolution with the other side who, hopefully is represented or may not be as well. So yeah, it's a great clarification.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Awesome.
um,
Well, oh, and wait, what you can serve anyone in Colorado, right?
Um, yeah, as far as yes, anyone in
Okay.
Colorado, yes, absolutely. There are a few other restrictions on our license as far as complexity of the case and different elements that might be
Okay.
within a case that are just better fit for an attorney, and those are, in the rules and everything. But absolutely, we can help in almost any case. And there's many instances where we help alongside an attorney. And
Sure.
so there's an LLP on a case and an attorney on a case, and we can kind of keep the costs low by working on a lot of things that are within scope and then let the attorney kind of handle the things that might not be.
Sure. Okay.
So,
All right. Well, how can we find you? And I know we'll have your information posted with the recording. But if you want to, I don't know, phone number, website, email, anything.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, my email address is Landon, LLANDON at coxbaker.com. And it will have that in the notes. And yeah, I'd be happy to speak to anyone and see if it's a good fit. And as far as my approach, I would say that I'm pretty straight shooter. So, and I think this is something I would encourage
Yeah.
people to look for in their legal counsel is look for somebody who is not afraid to help you manage your expectations. Divorce is a really difficult process, and sometimes we go into it not knowing exactly what's the right thing to ask for, what we can ask for, and try to find somebody who will give you a straight answer at all times, whether it's one you love or don't love. I think that's my approach, is that I would always want to be honest with my clients and let them know what's possible, what's not possible.
Yeah. And I know you well enough to know that that's a very true statement. Excuse me. I know you are a very straight shooter. Um, and I think that's important too, because I think sometimes when people are looking for someone to help them through this, they want to find the person that has the answer that they want to hear. but that's not necessarily how it's going to end. I think you need to know what the reality is and trust the person that you're working with, that they understand the law.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And thank you so much. I mean, I
Yeah,
really appreciate your level of expertise and the help you provide in your field. And I love the ability to work together as a team. So thank you so much for inviting me to do this.
absolutely. This is super fun. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to working with more clients with you for sure.
And that sounds great. Thank you, Karla.